David Hollander, congratulations on your first ever Emmy nomination for Ray Donovan. Do you want to tell us how you found out you got nominated and what that was like?
Yeah, I was asleep, and I was always really concerned about John and Liev getting their nominations. So I got up early to make sure that John and Liev got nominated. I saw that they had. I went back to bed, and then my phone kept pinging. And I kept checking, and I thought people were congratulating me for John and Liev's nominations. So I didn't get up until like 9:30 or 10, at which point there's about 30 messages. And then I realized that they may be actually literally congratulating me. So I started to look through all the nominations, and then I saw my name, which was really, truly startling. I had zero expectation of any nomination. So it was really, it was pretty fun.
Did you do anything to celebrate the nomination?
I was directing, so I went right to the set. Literally, it was nice because I was with all my guys and the crew was there, and we had a lot of fun. Everyone was really excited about it, and Liev was working with me that day, and John. Everyone was working that day, so we had a lot of. We celebrated just by working, which is generally what we do here.
This is a really exciting. It's a really exciting breakthrough year for Ray Donovan, because season 1, John got nominated but not Liev. Last year, the other way around. This year, they both got in. You got in. Hank Azaria got in for guest actor too. Do you feel a bit more like you're really on the Emmy radar now in a way you weren't before?
I guess. I mean, I feel like it was the number was great to have that many nominations. To have 5 nominations this year was really exciting. I think that everyone, not speaking for myself because I think I was literally baffled by mine, but I think that Hank and John and Liev are absolutely, they deserve to be in that category year in, year out. I think that the supporting cast that we have here is the best supporting cast in television. I think, Dash and Eddie and Paula are extraordinary actors that also deserve that kind of due and acclaim. So I'm very glad for them. I think it's really lovely to see that they're getting the kind of recognition they deserve. The rest of it, who knows? It's funny for a third-year show to get that kind of lift off. So we were just happy about that.
Do you think that this was your best season of the show, season 3, or do you think it just took a couple years for the Emmys sort of to catch on and to sort of find to get to the point where they're yeah, let's tick it off in multiple categories?
Right. I don't know if this was our, it's hard to say what the best is. I think that the show has always done certain things extraordinarily well, and I believe the best thing the show has to offer is its cast. So I think that maybe over time, people seeing the cast more and getting accustomed to the quality. And I think the cast's quality is also then starting to help other categories, even like my own, find recognition as well. I do feel like we rise up with the tide rises with our cast, and we work really hard to make the best of this incredible group we have.
When I was talking with Liev Schreiber, he sort of referred to the show as a bit of a playground in some ways, with all the great actors you guys attract and all that sort of stuff. Do you from the perspective of someone who writes for the show, someone who directs for the show, what's it like for you on that sort of playground with the sort of talent you have to work with there?
It's amazing, and I'm joking, but sometimes it's too much of a good thing. We have so many mouths to feed and so many extraordinarily talented actors that if you miss a beat, if you don't deliver exactly what you should, those actors that are not getting enough feeding, you feel it. It's not their ego; you just feel it because you can see that they're not getting the stuff they need to bring the very best out. So in the writer's room, we're thrilled that we have these great actors to write for. And then we also have to sit down at the end of each draft and go, did we serve everybody as well as we can serve them? And it means a lot more work on the scripts, a lot more rewriting, a lot more concern about the threading and the plot lines and, the nuances, but it's worth it. But it's in a strange way, there's not a corner we can go to kind of go, well, that's just what that person does and only that. You know, I've been on shows where you kind of write right into the strengths of the actors because you know what the actors do. This show, it's endless, the possibilities. So we're constantly pushing it further. And they definitely bring out our best. And they also, when we don't nail it, you can see it.
If you don't, if you feel like you've underserved a particular character actor in one episode, are you focused more on trying to serve them the next episode or trying to give them an opportunity? Because, like, I guess that's the thing with TV, you do have more chances to come back and visit characters.
Right. I mean, I think we ultimately just serve the story the best we can serve it, and we serve the condition of the characters the best we can serve that. It's impossible to sort of throw an actor a bone on a show like this because it just gets cut. So if the story demands that we write it, if the story doesn't demand it, sometimes actors disappear for a while. And you know, that's just the nature of this particular show. We have, you know, 9 regular actors that are with us all year. It's a lot. And then we always have guests, you know, 3 or 4 or 5 big guest stars. So in an hour-long series, it's a lot of mouths to feed. So we just tend to go where we believe the story needs to go and hope that it catches as many characters as it can catch.
You spoke about how you have sort of freedom as a director with such a talented cast and so many, you know, heavy hitters in the lineup. What sort of something, because of one of those actors, that you've felt the freedom to do as a writer, or that you've been able to be more creative with than you otherwise sort of wouldn't have been able to do from any moment in any of the seasons?
Yeah, I mean, all of it has been the ability to write less, frankly, the ability to underwrite, the ability to suggest, the ability to, these are all opportunities for collaboration that great actors bring. So, you know, what I find is that when we do that sort of thing, you know, what used to be writing that had to be really spelled out and expositional has turned into writing that is cinematic and quiet and simple, making us all better writers, frankly, and allowing the actors to behave, and trusting that they're going to build a subtext to the story that is in their own writing as actors. Like they're creating their own inner monologues and clashing and creating dimension against story. So I guess it's a lot of words of saying it gives me an enormous amount of faith that what I write is going to be met well, and the risks that we take are going to be received with great artistry. It's sort of, I think, the easiest way to put it.
Has an actor ever surprised you on the show?
Every day.
Can you think of an example of when an actor surprised you?
I think so many. I mean, we have room for actors to come and create their own stories, you know. So I find even after working with Liev and John and Paul, as long as we've worked with them, they are always coming into the scene with an idea that not only wants to support what's on the page, it also brings in a whole new level of story. Eddie is a really unusually, he's also very gifted at creating inner lives that I just didn't think, you know, he has these amazing monologues that sometimes I'll say to Eddie, what are you really thinking? And he'll tell me what his character is thinking. And it's often so much better than what I thought his character was thinking. And then we get amazing guest actors that come and do these wild turns and bring hysterically different interpretations. You know, I remember Frank Whaley the first year came on, and Frank was just, we wrote this very simple plot line that Ann Bitterman had really sort of seen and thought of. And Frank showed up with the whole other dimension to him. And we were just watching dailies going, wow. You know, so but every actor here is invited to come and stretch, and no one survives here without that type of bravery.
Yeah. Now, you've written about 15 odd episodes of the show. You're involved in the writer's room. This episode, you got nominated for your first episode that you've directed for Ray Donovan.
Yeah. Yes.
What was it like switching gears and like getting behind the camera for that episode? Like, was it a very different experience for you?
Yeah, it was. You know, I've been directing off and on for a while. I've also been a showrunner for most of my adult life, so I've had this amazing relationship to all the great television directors. I've been working with them for 15 years. So there's something about being a showrunner who occasionally directs that makes directing almost pure fun. I know what I want. I have this amazing group of teachers that I work with and the other directors that I've been cutting their material all year. I find it to be just fun and thrilling to be able to set the shots and be in that position. Directing Ray Donovan was initially a little scary because I felt like, you know, I've been with these guys a long time, and I wanted them to trust that I could direct them as well as be a writer or be a showrunner or be, when Anne was here, just simply a writer. So I had some trepidation and I over-prepared, but the rest was really just fun.
What was the funnest thing about directing that episode?
The funnest?
Yeah.
Or
most fun.
I think we had a lot of fun making that particular episode. We worked really long hours on it. We had a very short time to make it. You know, we make our episodes in 10 days, and it was a really big episode. So I think what was the most enjoyable was kind of flying blind. We had a massive shootout sequence that I'd worked for my entire prep with the stunt people and storyboard artists and the DP, and we had everything sort of laid out. We'd had rehearsals, but we had only enough time to do one take of everything, or we wouldn't be able to get it done. And I had about 55 setups to make the whole thing come together. And that was a really fun day because everyone did it. There wasn't one mistake. The bullets hit where they were supposed to hit. Grace Zabriskie's throat cut open the way it was supposed to cut open, and the blood pump worked the way it was supposed to work. You know, Liev took the shot right where he was supposed to take it, and all the squibs went. It was we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of people really from the network and from all over coming to watch that day with a lot of anxiety. But we literally got every shot done in one take and moved on and got out, which was joyous. That was a fun day.
Well, I was going to ask you what the biggest challenge of that episode was, but it may have been the same moment.
Yeah, that was the biggest challenge. And I think the greatest joy was watching Liev do the confessional scene.
Well, when I spoke with Liev, we spoke a bit about that confessional scene because it's such a big moment for his character. It's such a big moment for the series. And like we talked about how dark like a show this can be at times and how sort of consuming that can be for an actor to be entering this very, very dark world. As a director, as a writer, is that also quite confronting?
The writing is. The directing, I think, is really more of being a great host to the experience, you know, and then to make sure there's room for the actors to fully sort of get into that scene and do it in a way that they feel is safe and true. The writing was hard. That was a hard scene to write. I think that scene was rewritten 15, 20 times after it went into production. I just kept trying to get it right. Trying to get it right for what Liev felt his character wanted, for what I felt was really important to the arc of the season, to what felt dramatically sound and elegant and poetic, and yet still. So all of those things, I'd already done all my work by the time it was time to shoot. It was really time just to give Liev the chance to do what he does, which is, he's an extraordinary actor, and there are days when Liev, he wants to play, he's on his game, and that was one of them. I could feel the minute he walked onto the set that he was really ready for this scene. And we all just sat once it was set and watched. He did maybe 3 takes of it. I went in and maybe gave him 1 or 2 adjustments. That was about it. And they weren't like, the adjustments that I was giving were more about emphasizing certain moments or moving down at a different time. It was nothing about what his heart was saying. That was all him. We all sat by the monitors and I just couldn't believe how beautiful the work was. And the minute it was done, I just remember, calling the editor of the episode, Lynn Willingham, and saying, "It's going to be so good. It's so simple. Just, and it's beautiful, beautiful stuff." And she called me immediately upon getting it and just was weeping with how happy she was with
it. I think like when you were answering that, I was thinking, with directing, and especially you've had experience with a lot of great directors and you've directed other shows in the past and stuff like that. With directing, is it just as important when not to step in and like sort of almost some of the make of what not to do rather than what you actually do?
I think so. I mean, I think that the vast majority, my experience, and again, I'm in my experience of directing, the best thing I can do is over prepare, stand where I believe the camera should go, and collaborate with an open heart and open mind, and be patient. To me, and again, I don't generally direct action sequences. I mean, that's different. When you're doing, methodical, like the shootout sequence, whatever, you're trying to, it's not that ambiguous. It's unambiguous theater, and it's, you need to get the action. You need to be smart enough to be ahead of the curve to make sure everything goes in. So I'm not really speaking about major sequences like that, which I think are a very different muscle. But when you're looking for human experience and behavior, the worst thing I think a director can do is impose an opinion before the actors have found the voicing of the scene. And even then, sometimes it's best to impose no opinion. I, as a habit, just say very little, and when I do, I whisper it into one person's ear so that no one else can hear it, and usually pose it as a question. Do you think, how about, where might this go if, without saying do this, because that then is creating something that for me isn't very watchable. And I have such utter faith in the actors that I choose to work with that it defeats the entire purpose of working with them.
With that confessional scene, you said it was so difficult to write. What was if you were to say what the one thing is you were trying to get out of that scene as a writer, as a director, what was the most important thing you guys were trying to hit with that scene?
We wanted to explore love. We wanted to explore the idea that this person's rage and anger was fueled by the fact that somewhere in this little boy's head and heart, he had fallen in love with his abuser. And that was the thing that was killing him. That was the thing that was the hardest. I cared for him. That phrase that Liev utters in that, when he sinks down, I cared for him. When I wrote the script with Bill Wheeler, William Wheeler is a fantastic writer, and when we first were batting this one back and forth, we kept writing, I loved him, and it wasn't working. Because it was so on the nose, it was, I loved him. And I think it was Liev, actually, that sort of looked at us and said, I don't want to say love, I want to find another way of saying it. And we landed on cared for him because it felt and was the same. But that distinction between I loved him and I cared for him was what made the scene work. And what we knew we wanted as writers, which we're often at 30,000 feet injecting often just a bunch of bullshit. We have big ideas, but it's just an injection of good writing doesn't manipulate. Good writing somehow gets on the ground, and you work hard enough to put the thing down so it behaves and people can actually walk and talk in the shoes of it. And I think getting that scene to get to the place where we were actually looking at grief, not because based on abuse, that scene wasn't about Ray Donovan grieving his abuse. It was about Ray Donovan grieving his shame about loving his abuser and about having lost his way because of that, and about wanting nothing to fall ill on anyone else he loves, because of the repercussions of his actions for the rest of his life. It wasn't about Save My Brother Terry, although that was the reason that got him there. Please Save My Brother quickly turned into this. So I think that's why that scene for us and for the show, and I think why, you know, certainly some recognition sent my way is really because that scene did those three things. And that really was the work of myself, Bill Wheeler, the entire writing staff, Liev, this thing that came together, which took three ideas and turned them into one moment. That may be a complicated answer, but that's...
Yeah. Was that scene to approach something like that, which isn't the kind of message or like the kind of story that is often told on TV, the story of someone confessing for caring for their abuser. Is that an exciting sort of, are they exciting waters to chart, or is it very sort of heavy and confronting to have to write stuff like that?
It's exciting. I mean, I think that I think we all want to write because we want to challenge ourselves to dig deeper and look more honestly at the human condition. And that in this age too, I think that because the audience is so sophisticated now, and they have had the opportunity to digest and look at so much writing and so much storytelling, that I know for myself, and I'm sure for everyone who works with me here and throughout, you know, many writers' rooms in this business, what gets us out of bed is the chance to tell something that looks a little bit more like the truth, you know, and not so black and white. You know, we come to writing in kind of black and white ideas of good guys and bad guys and desires and wins and losses. And then the more you write, you start realizing that everything lives in ambiguities, and that becomes what's exciting, is unearthing the ambiguities.
Is there something that you guys haven't done on Ray Donovan yet that you would love to do at some point?
Absolutely. There's always something new.
What's something new that you'd like to do that you haven't done? Not like a plot line, but more like,
right.
You know.
I mean, there's so much more I want to explore, and I think we all want to explore, in the dynamics of the male-female relationship that lands a little more squarely on the shoulders of less sort of patriarchal or macho, but more in the interpersonal and the more honest. I think that outside of that, there's just, for me right now, I'm really itching to get into sort of a little bit deeper into Hollywood again, and a little bit deeper into not Entourage like Hollywood, and nothing against Entourage, but just sort of more of a, you know, a really core, compelling story that leads us through the back rooms of Hollywood in a way that hasn't been done in a long time. That interests me a lot right now.
Is there a dream guest star you've got for the show?
There's always some, and we seem to get them. You know, it's funny. It's like, you know, I always wanted to work with Ian McShane. Here he comes. You know, this year we had, you know, all sorts of extraordinarily talented people that have been on. I mean, we've had no. So I don't know who the perfect person is. We always go, that's a Ray Donovan actor, but you know, the target moves the minute the characters are built, and I go, well, this character needs this person. So whoever we dream up next year, I'm sure we'll find someone magnificent to do it.
Well, David, thanks so much for chatting with us. Congratulations on all of Ray Donovan's Emmy success, in particular your nomination, and all the best for the Emmys, man.
Great. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
No worries.
Okay, I'll see you.
See ya.